Imagine you receive a video call. It sounds exactly like a colleague, maybe a family member, or even someone from your bank.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think twice, right? You just
Yeah.
would inherently trust what they're saying.
Of course.
But what if that, seemingly ordinary digital moment was actually an AI-powered deception? A really meticulously crafted forgery designed just to trick you.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. The alarming reality of AI-powered identity scams is, well, it's far more complex and pervasive than you might imagine. We're really not talking about science fiction anymore. Sophisticated AI isn't just in the movies, it's actively creating incredibly convincing forgeries and impersonations right now.
Right now.
So this deep dive is basically your shortcut to understanding this rapidly evolving threat.
That's exactly right. Our mission today is to go beyond just the headlines and truly explore the core techniques these AI-driven scams use.
Okay.
And the staggering scale they're operating at, and maybe most critically, the cutting-edge defenses that are emerging in this kind of digital arms race. An arms race, yeah.
Because AI isn't just a new tool for criminals. It fundamentally changes the game. It leverages speed, scalability, adaptability.
Right.
All to conduct large-scale, highly convincing fraud, often with minimal human intervention.
Okay, so to give you a clear, engaging overview of this really complex landscape, we've taken a stack of your sources, articles, research reports, that kind of thing, and we've extracted the most important nuggets of knowledge about these AI identity scams.
Good plan.
So let's dive straight into the numbers then, because they paint an incredibly stark picture. I mean, this isn't just some theoretical threat. It's a rapidly escalating problem happening, right now.
Absolutely. And what's fundamentally fascinating, or maybe terrifying, here's the shift AI brings. Its ability to create these, convincing forgeries and impersonations.
Yeah.
It just makes detection far harder than traditional methods.
Harder how?
Well, consider this. Deepfake-driven face swaps, the kind used to bypass identity verification, they surged by a stunning 704% in 2023 alone.
704%. That's not just a jump. That's like an explosion. It fundamentally redefines how we even think about digital trust, doesn't it?
It really does.
It means the very act of seeing and hearing. Well, it's now open to manipulation on a scale we've never seen before. What does that mean for how businesses or even individuals can truly verify who they're actually interacting with online?
Precisely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources say by 2025, deepfake fraud attempts had already increased by an astounding 2,137% over just 3 years.
Wow. 2,000%.
Yeah, and they now account for about 6.5% of all identity fraud cases. These deepfakes are being weaponized in very specific ways, too.
Like how?
Well, for example, in video-based Know Your Customer, KYC processes, they use them to impersonate legitimate users or even high-level executives.
To what end? What's the goal?
The goal is often gaining unauthorized access or tricking employees into transferring funds. Big money transfers sometimes.
And the financial toll must be immense.
Oh, it is. AI-driven fraud accounts for something like 43% of all fraud attempts in the financial and payment sector.
43%.
Yeah, and maybe even worse, nearly 29% of those attempts actually succeed.
Wow.
The sources highlight that global payment fraud alone cost businesses an estimated £30 billion just in the previous year. That really illustrates the sheer scale of the problem we're facing.
30 billion pounds. Okay, so we've seen the scale. Huge numbers. Now, let's maybe pull back the curtain a bit and understand how these fraudsters are achieving such, frankly, alarming success.
Right.
It seems to boil down to a few core AI-powered techniques that are truly transforming the landscape of deception.
Indeed. We're seeing distinct methodologies emerge, and each one leverages AI's unique capabilities. First, let's talk about deepfakes and real-time impersonation.
Okay.
So the mechanics behind these are basically machine learning models. They're trained on vast amounts of publicly available images, videos, voice recordings.
Stuff scraped from the internet.
Pretty much. And they learn to mimic facial expressions, voices, even mannerisms with really startling accuracy.
The idea of real-time impersonation is it's genuinely chilling. Can you maybe walk us through the scenarios where this is most likely to play out? Or perhaps where it's already happening? What makes it so tough to spot in a live interaction?
Yeah, it's happening in these really critical moments. Think about someone impersonating an executive during a live corporate video call, maybe telling a subordinate to make an urgent, don't ask questions kind of transfer.
Right, pressure situation.
Exactly. Or maybe a fraudster using an AI-generated customer's face during an identity verification call to open a fake bank account. The difficulty lies in the subtle stuff, the micro expressions, those tiny hesitations in speech, even the way light reflects in an eye. AI can replicate these things so well now, making it almost impossible for the human eye or even basic security systems to catch it in the moment. Okay, next up we have synthetic identity fraud, or SIF. This one's interesting. It isn't about stealing an existing identity like yours or mine. It's about creating a new, fictitious one. They do this by combining bits of real personal data, maybe a stolen social security number or a national insurance number, with entirely AI-generated fictional details.
Hold on, so they're not just stealing my identity, they're fabricating a completely brand new one using, like, fragments of real data and then just filling in the blanks with AI.
That's it.
How is that even possible to detect if it's a totally manufactured persona? Who reports the crime?
Well, that's exactly the challenge. Because it blends real and fabricated data, it's incredibly difficult to spot using traditional methods. And like you said, there's often no single victim to report the crime because the identity itself doesn't actually belong to a real whole person.
Right.
AI's role here is critical. Generative AI just speeds this whole process up. It creates hyper-realistic fake IDs, utility bills, even academic transcripts that can fool both automated systems and human reviewers. We're talking things like generative adversarial networks, JNs, where you basically have two AIs battling it out, one creating fakes, the other trying to detect them. It just leads to increasingly realistic fakes over time.
The impact here sounds truly significant. You mentioned losses earlier. Yeah, the sources say synthetic identity fraud was estimated to cause something like $35 billion in losses in the U.S. alone in 2023.
$35 billion.
And the Federal Reserve has apparently identified it as the fastest growing financial crime out there. We even saw nearly $200 billion stolen from unemployment programs during the pandemic, partly blamed on early forms of this, which have now obviously evolved dramatically with better AI. As of August 2025, the sources noted over 118,000 suspected identity fraud cases were recorded just in the first half of 2025 alone. And a lot of that is being driven by these AI-generated synthetic identities. Experts aren't just warning us anymore that a fraud crisis is imminent. They're basically saying, no, it is already here.
Which really raises an important question. Why is this all happening so fast? One expert even warns of what they've termed Altman's Law.
Altman's Law, like Sam Altman.
Well, it's more of a stark observation named in reference to the pace of AI development. It suggests AI capabilities might be sort of doubling every 6 months.
Doubling every 6 months.
Yeah, now it isn't a formal scientific law, obviously, but it's a powerful analogy. It highlights how incredibly quickly this technology is advancing. And the worrying part is, it means fraudsters are already outpacing public protection systems, which often rely on older, outdated methods.
That makes sense. So what else is in their toolkit?
Okay, moving on. We also have AI-generated phishing and social engineering. These are definitely not the poorly written emails with bad grammar that we used to be able to spot a mile off.
Right, those are almost comical sometimes.
Exactly. Modern language models are now crafting highly personalized, very convincing messages and doing it at scale, often in multiple languages, using victims' online profiles to make them incredibly targeted and believable.
Yeah, I've heard about AI-powered chatbots interacting in real time on fake websites. They lead people into scams, like, what's it called? Pig butchering, these romance scams.
That's right.
Where the AI actually builds an emotional connection over time before asking for money or sensitive information. It's truly insidious how they prey on basic human trust and emotion.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then, kind of related, there's document forgery and identity spoofing. AI tools are now generating incredibly realistic fake IDs, passports, utility bills. You name it.
Digitally.
Primarily digital
Right.
forgeries, yeah. They now account for over 57% of all document fraud. And that starts to present something like a 244% annual increase.
Huge jump.
A massive jump. The core vulnerability here is that AI can flawlessly replicate physical security, features things like holograms and watermarks, but in the digital image of the document. This renders traditional visual inspection almost useless.
So a trained human looking at a screen can't even reliably tell the difference anymore.
Often, no. It's becoming incredibly difficult. And the sources mention this is fueling these underground fraud-as-a-service platforms.
Right, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, where criminals can buy these high-quality fake documents for as little as, say, $15 per document.
$15. That's an unbelievably low barrier to entry for serious crime. It feels like this evolution has just blown traditional verification methods wide open.
It certainly poses a massive challenge. And finally, we need to touch on credential stuffing and account takeover, often called ATO.
Okay.
AI-powered tools are automating these credential stuffing attacks. That's where criminals take lists of stolen usernames and passwords, maybe from data breaches, and just systematically try them across hundreds of different websites.
Trying to find accounts where people reuse their passwords.
Exactly. And the AI makes it smarter. It can mimic human behavior like typing speed, mouse movements to bypass the security filters designed to detect bots.
The impact is obviously profound. Once they get access to an account, fraudsters can transfer funds, steal personal data, or even launch more scams from within that now trusted account.
Mm.
And the effectiveness is just amplified by how many of us reuse passwords. The sources said a staggering 78% of individuals use the same password for multiple accounts.
That's the critical vulnerability they exploit.
Mm.
Account takeover fraud resulted in nearly $13 billion in losses globally in 2023. That was up from $11 billion just a year before in 2022.
13 billion.
And the AI components allow these attack systems to learn from failed attempts, refine their password guessing strategies, and mimic legitimate user behavior even better over time to evade detection. It makes spotting them incredibly challenging for businesses.
Okay, so what does all this mean for defense? I mean, listening to this, it sounds like we're significantly outmatched. These AI-powered fraudsters seem to be adapting so incredibly quickly. But there is a serious counteroffensive happening, isn't there? You called it an AI arms race?
It absolutely is, and that's the slightly hopeful part, maybe. The same AI technologies fueling the fraud are also being deployed to combat it. It really is a high-stakes arms race.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is how organizations are now using AI for defense. One key strategy is AI-powered identity verification. Platforms are using AI to detect liveness, basically, proving a real person is present.
Not just a photo or a deepfake video.
Exactly. And identifying deepfake images or those synthetic profiles during, say, account onboarding. They do this by analyzing things like microexpressions, tiny eye reflections, subtle facial inconsistencies, things that are incredibly difficult for even sophisticated fraudulent AI to perfectly replicate in real time.
Okay, so detecting the fakes themselves. But beyond that, what other AI-powered defense strategies are proving effective? Are we seeing things like, I don't know, behavioral analytics coming into play more?
Yes, absolutely. Behavioral analytics are crucial. Machine learning models are trained to analyze user behavior. Things like keystroke dynamics, how you type,
Your rhythm.
your rhythm, yeah, mouse movements, how long someone stays on a page, how they navigate a site. It's looking for patterns that seem bot-like or just anomalous compared to usual human behavior. If it doesn't feel authentically human, the AI can flag it for review.
Interesting.
We're also seeing the wider implementation of layered security and zero trust models.
Zero trust.
Yeah, it's basically a multi-layered approach. It combines things like electronic identity solutions,
Where?
EIDs, identity access management, IAM systems, real-time AI-powered fraud detection, and continuous monitoring. The core principle of zero trust, just like the name implies, is basically never trust, always verify. It enforces constant verification regardless of where the user is logging in from or what they're trying to do.
So no implicit trust just because you're inside the network, for example.
Precisely. And looking a bit further ahead, things like digital identity wallets and biometrics are emerging as potentially more scalable defenses.
Wow.
Well, the idea is they store your verified identity data securely on your own device, reducing the reliance on those vulnerable passwords, which, as we discussed, are just a major weakness for so many people and systems.
Okay, that sounds promising. But despite these advancements, I assume challenges in detection and prevention still persist. It can't be that easy.
Oh, definitely not. It's a constant battle. For instance, current AI detection tools are often quite limited. One source mentioned, for example, that OpenAI's own deepfake detector is really only good at identifying content generated by its own specific model, DALI 3, not necessarily fakes created by other AI models.
So it can spot its own kids, but not others. That seems like a pretty big limitation.
It is, and it raises that important question. How do we effectively detect something if maybe only the creator's AI can truly recognize its own output reliably?
And it's that constant cat and mouse game, isn't it? Fraudsters can just iteratively modify their content, tweak it slightly until it bypasses whatever the current AI filters are looking for.
Exactly. But here's where the human element, thankfully, still plays a potentially powerful role. Research shows that just spending a few extra seconds really scrutinizing a video or a message can significantly improve our ability to detect fakes, sometimes by up to 8 percentage points.
So our own vigilance taking that extra moment still actually matters quite a bit.
It does. It really does. But this also brings us back to that sobering idea of Altman's law. That observation or maybe warning that AI capabilities might be doubling every 6 months.
Right.
This rapid pace means AI is often outpacing government fraud defenses, which, let's be honest, often remain underfunded and sometimes rely on outdated, siloed systems that don't talk to each other. It's a huge challenge, especially for public institutions trying to keep up.
This whole deep dive really highlights that central tension, doesn't it? AI is making fraud incredibly effective, highly scalable, frighteningly convincing, but it's also, simultaneously, our most powerful tool for defense.
It seems to be.
The stakes are just incredibly high. Not just for banks and financial institutions, but really for every single one of us navigating the digital world today. This battle isn't just about money anymore. It feels like it's about the very fabric of trust and identity in our increasingly digital lives. And just to leave you with one final thought, something that truly expands our understanding of this threat beyond just, stealing money. Consider this really striking example we found in the sources.
Yeah, this one was fascinating. It's the emergence of what the sources are calling ghost students.
Ghost students.
Yeah. Basically, AI chatbots enrolling themselves in online college courses. They use stolen identities to do it, and then they collect financial aid money and even submit AI-generated homework to pass the course.
You're kidding. An AI is enrolling in college to steal financial aid.
Apparently so. It shows it's not just about stealing money directly from a bank account. It's about corrupting entire systems, even education. There was one documented case where a real man discovered he had somehow been enrolled in an online class he never actually took.
Right.
And AI-generated homework submissions had been made in his name throughout the course. It really makes you question what truly constitutes a real interaction, or even a real identity online anymore, doesn't it?
That's a truly unsettling thought to end on. So thinking about all this, what stands out most to you about this evolving threat and the strange duality of AI being both the problem and perhaps our only real solution going forward?